So you want to think of your this system as like a chessboard, okay? So basically, your family trust sits at the top, like the king and the queen. All right. Now the king and the queen are the most valuable pieces on the board. The chessboard is the game of life. The family trust sits at the top, okay? What you then do is you want your family trust to best you can stay insulated from the world. You don't really want to ever reveal your family trust name or do direct business with your family trust if you don't have to, which is why you create arms like a body out into the world. That's a really bad drawing of a crown. The head, the crown, okay? So your family trust is like the crown of the body. But your arms out into the world are your business trust and your charitable foundation trust. And then the beneficiary of these two is the family trust. Where the beneficiary of your family trust are your children, anybody you put on there, people, okay? That's who you're managing the assets for, to leave behind when you're gone. That's why you don't own it anymore. The trust owns it for you and you manage it for them. You think you're doing that right now if you have kids. You think that everything that you're doing, like if you have a family and you're operating in your name, you think that you're doing that now. Technically, contractually, you're doing it for your name. You just happen to have children that you're paying for. So this kind of lines you up better with that whole idea that you're actually doing it for the benefit of your children. So this is more of an organic fit than, say, operating your name, like having everything in your name, as you might say. So these become the arms into the world. And how your business trust and your charitable foundation has a very specific mission. Whether you align it with your church, whether you align it with your synagogue, whether you align it with stray pets, autism. Mine is off-grid home building. That's what mine is. So my charitable foundation funds off-grid real estate projects. That's a very specific task. So I got to be very careful what I'm doing as far as bringing in funds through here and what it's used for, okay? So that gives you some maneuverability, right? That gives you maneuverability out in the world. Adding the business trust gives you more maneuverability because all business you could do from here, regardless of what the cause is. But here's the thing. So your business trust, you can think of it like this. BIS. I think I got that right? Yeah, BIS. This is like your bishop, one of the most valuable pieces on the board. It slices, it cuts through, it takes people's legs out, it takes pieces off the board. It acquires holdings for the family trust, the king and the queen. So this is a very important piece on the board, is it not? You don't have to have this piece, but your strategy changes and your options become more limited once you lose this or never had it. This one is more like your knight, the horsey. That's more like your knight, okay? So if you have both these pieces, if your king and queen have both your pieces on the board, do you have more or less maneuverability? As you can see with this model, these two guys, their only function is to increase the holdings of these guys. So the question is do you have the opportunity to multiply on an exponential level the holdings for your family trust if you have one arm or two arms, more pieces on the board or less? But here's where it gets really interesting. This is just the beginning. You can have another business trust, another business trust, another business trust, with very specific functions that they're doing. You can have more charitable foundations, how many charitable foundations do you want? How many options do you want to give people to donate money to? Worthy of like autism causes, stray pets, animals, cats and dogs. You want to create like a whole sanctuary for them. All right, maybe you like birds. This helped you understand it, right? Because this is how powerful it is. So if you add all these, right? Now you have your rook. Now you have two rooks, right? So now you have your rook. You have two bishops, two knights. You can add multiple pieces onto the board and fill up the board. So if these guys are your important pieces, let's just kind of put this in context and kind of put this to bed finally. Where do you think the LLCs show up on the chessboard? Just spit it out. If those are all the important pieces, where do the LLCs show up on the chessboard? The pawns. That's right. So which one's better, an LLC or a trust? What's the ones you can sacrifice if you don't need them? Which pieces can you sacrifice if you don't need them? I mean, you may lose the other big pieces and you're like, that hurts. LLCs? No disrespect. That's just where they sit in the position. So your family trust, if you have an LLC, right? When you move your assets, your businesses into the trust, the LLCs, like our paperwork just got changed up with the state, where the family trust privately was sold. The LLC is privately sold through a bill of sale to the family trust. You put that in your book, okay? Public facing, the manager of the LLC is no longer the person, it's the business trust. Because when you put the business, now on the state website, my business trust is the manager of the LLC that we had. Now, the business trust, the beneficiary of the business trust is the family trust. There's no other names on there other than our names for trustee. But when somebody goes to look up the LLC, they're going to see the name of the trust. That trust is not registered on the internet. They can't search that and find out who's in there. It's a dead end. So it creates the separation from who owns that thing to you, so that someone can't then go look up your name and look up everything else that you have, because that's how the system's designed. So LLCs are useful, though. I'll explain why. They have a role. Obviously, they have a place on the board. LLCs are sacrificable. They're a dime a dozen. Trusts, these types of trusts, I mean, you can see how these are not cheap, right? So you're not looking to sacrifice your trust. You can sacrifice an LLC. What's that look like? Well, when you get your trusts from Trust Up Community and the XRP Trust, when you get them set up, you then go to the banks to get your bank accounts after you got the EINs set up at irs.gov. You walk into the bank to get your bank accounts, and they all of a sudden have, I mean, depending on the bank, like you can walk into Wells Fargo and be in and out the same day. It's called wellsfargopremier.com. They handle clients, their high net worth clients, for 200. It says right on the website, wellsfargopremier.com, that they deal with accounts 250,000 and more. Well, if they deal with accounts that are $250,000 or more, aren't bank accounts insured up to $250,000 for people, and social security numbers they are? For a trust account, they insured up to $1.25 million, because each beneficiary is worth $250,000. You can do the math. So up to 5 times 250 is $1.25 million. So you can have up to $1.25 million sitting in the bank account, and that whole thing is FDIC insured, as long as FDIC lasts and what's going on with the change. Just to kind of give you an idea how the banks see this stuff. So it's almost like they're treating you like almost like a partner account. That's what it feels like. I'm not saying that's exactly what's happening. Excuse me a second. Gotta pull a wrapper off of this. So the trust accounts are very, and then Chase, they review your trusts. They take about a week. Wells Fargo doesn't really do that. Chase will review it and give you the accounts. Here's the paradox, though. They won't lend to trusts. They'll give you the bank accounts and they'll insure you for more, but they won't lend to the trusts. Why? Because, and again, this is my understanding, none of it's legal or tax advice or anything like that. It's all entertainment, educational purposes, and you must do your own research with this. The court system does not have jurisdiction over the trust. So if they were to give money to a trust, the bank, and the trust defaults on the money, the bank really has no recourse. So what do you do? Because it's a private trust. What do you do? Well, the banks love to give money to LLCs. Even Jay Klaver says it's like a credit chassis. So it's a public-facing entity, because that's what they lend to. So you can have the trust start an LLC, to which you're the trustee of. They're going to look at you as your credit because you're running that thing. You're going to get funded because the banks lend to LLCs, not to trusts. And now you have the money. So they have a place and they have a function. But are they the most versatile? Are they the most maneuverable type of entity? Some people would tell you, yeah. Some people would. I'm no expert on LLCs. I'm no expert on trust. I can just see, you can just see sometimes. So the LLCs are like the pawns on the board. You have a lot of them, and you can sacrifice some of them if you need to. Deeper conversations on that once you come into the community.